Good morning, grade 10s. Good morning, good morning. We have a few people that are still jumping in. I know the break just ended, so we'll pause for a minute or two. Mr. Redstone, would you just can you hear me okay, Mr. Redstone? Okay, right on. So we'll do a pause here for 2 minutes to give a few more classes time to get in. The chat window is open. If you have a question or anything, throw it in there, or you can connect or send a text to Mrs. Arnott or contact the office, and one of us can come down and make sure we've got the technical stuff handled. So, right. So we'll be on pause for 2 minutes, and then we'll get started. Thanks. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Yes, welcome. So last year we did a course registration like this. Of course, it wasn't through Zoom. We were able to kind of be together in the auditorium with Mrs. Lewis. This year's unique. That's okay. The focus and the content's the same. It's an important day where we talk about planning for high school from today on forward. And at any point throughout the presentation today, there will be time to pause and to work through any questions that we can use. We'll use the chat window staff as an option for that as well. You can send off a text or a call to Mrs. Arnott, and we can work through that way. If we do have troubles and you have specific questions, I can also come to your classroom tomorrow, or Mrs. Lewis can, and we can help from there as well. Lots of options. This presentation will take about 30 minutes. And the purpose of this today is to give you a good overview of the course registration procedure for the next school year, and to make sure that you're taking the right classes as you go into the grade 11 year. We have put together a pile of stuff to share with you, and I want to start with talking about that. First of all, is each of you have a package, and it has two main things. It has a course registration form, which we'll talk about in a moment, and it has 4 really important resources as well. Now, these are for you. They are intended to help you with course planning, with after high school life planning, all of those things. They're really, though, also intended for your families. So be sure today that when you go home, that you leave these on the kitchen table. These are meant to help for planning for the future. And there's some really, really useful stuff in here, especially as you get into grade 11. So this first one here deals with choosing the right high school courses for life after high school. It's a guide for students and parents. This is one you want to read together. There's also a really handy form here that talks about post-secondary requirements. You may not know what you want to do after high school. That's completely fine and completely normal to not know that at your age. However, this will help give you some direction. It will tell you what credits and what courses you must take in high school to get into specific university programs. And it's not super complicated. As you read it, you'll see it's actually pretty easy. So that's what that is. Super useful. This form here is from the government, and that's actually an overview of high school credits in general. This is a good reminder. We normally give this to grade 9s, but I think at grade 10, it's a good reminder for you and your families about how the credit system works. Now that you've done it for a year, you're kind of, you're familiar. You understand that, you know, every class you take is a credit, and that you need 24 credits, and you need a certain select credit to be able to graduate, a certain number of English credits, of math and science and so forth. And this kind of does a nice job at showing all that. This resource here is a graduation checklist, and it talks to you about what classes you needed at each grade level. So in your case, you will look through here and you'll be able to identify what classes you're taking or plan to take in grade 10 to make sure you've got all the right ones. I guarantee that you will have been set up to be successful and have the right credits in grade 10 here. But it is a good resource, and I'll share with you another really cool way you can keep track of that as well. And the last sheet deals with math and science pathways. That's something you're familiar with as well, but it does get a little bit different in grade 11, which I'm going to share with you today as well. So Big package of papers intended to go home today. Share them with your family. They'll help you become more aware of all the high school credit options. And this form here, this is the big daddy. This is the one that we're going to work off of today. And eventually you're going to turn back into your morning teacher by Thursday as we begin to plan for the next school year already. Okay. Staff, we will do some work together today where I'll pause and I'll ask you to kind of help facilitate some things with your students. I'll also pause and I will show some resources online that I'll ask you to share at one point as well. But just be prepared. It's kind of an ebb and flow. I'll try and be great with timing and giving you enough time for it. But if we need more time or you have questions, just throw them in the chat window. First off, I am recording this session, and we will put this on our YouTube channel and put a link on our website for you at the end of our session this morning. This will take about 30 minutes of our time together. And the session's up there if you need to watch it again, or if your parents had questions or anything, it's an opportunity for you to watch it on your own as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you. We're going to shift over and we're going to begin talking about the registration process. So it's hard to imagine, but you know, just over 2 years from now, we'll be talking about graduation. 2.5 years from now, we'll be planning your graduation and all the experiences that go with that. So it is important over the last 2 years in grade 11 and 12 that you take the right credits to graduate high school. And it's also important that you make decisions that help leave your doors open for life after high school. So this is an important act that we're doing. The good news is that you also have 2 years to be able to get the correct credits and to be able to help to plan for your life after high school. Again, like I said at the beginning, we don't expect you to have a strong understanding of what you're going to do later in life. That's not the goal. But this is the time as we plan for grade 11 where we do start to make some decisions about specific classes that are definitely going to be helpful for you as you go forward. Mr. Redstone, would you just confirm you can see my PowerPoint on the screen? Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Sass. Okay, so your future is now. Keys to navigating high school in grade 11. All right, well, there's a big shift in grade 11, and that is the number of core classes you have to take is drastically different than any other grade you had. In grade 9, in grade 10, you had 6 or 7 core classes you must take. So in the course form, you had limited elective options. That's different in grade 11. In grade 11, you actually only have 3 core classes. You have English A20, only 1 English in grade 11. You have to take at least 1 20-level science to fulfill your graduation status. And thirdly, you have to at least take 1 math at the grade 11 level. So there's only 3 core electives that you need. If you recall, how many credits do you need to graduate in high school in Saskatchewan? The answer is 24. So in grade 10, you'll get 10 credits. And in grade 11, you're going to need at least 7 credits or more. And in grade 12, you'll need at least 7 or more in order to graduate. So next year, you'll have 3 cores and you'll have as many electives as you really want. You could have 7 or 8 electives on top of that, which we're going to talk about. So it's a really exciting kind of year for you. Many of you will take maybe additional science classes or some additional maths, or maybe it's an opportunity to follow a passion that you have. You might get, that's where that freedom comes in grade 11 and 12. So that's really, really exciting. We do ask that in grade 11, you choose a minimum of 9 subjects, okay, or 9 credits. We think it's important to take advantage of all the incredible things we have to offer. So I want to encourage you to really fill out your schedule with class options and take advantage of some of the cool electives. School doesn't always need to be intense and academically focused. There are some great classes and areas of passion that you can follow. And we sure have a lot of those and some new ones that we're really excited to share with you this year. So the first thing I want to say is that you know that you need 24 credits to graduate. Recall that it is all our jobs to make sure you get the right 24 credits. It's your job as a student to know what the credits are that you need and to make sure that you choose the right path. It's your parents' job also to help guide you and help you to be sure that you take the right classes. It's also our job to kind of help catch that and to consult with you. So at any point through this process today or moving forward, if you have questions about courses or about selections or about credits or about any of those things, be sure to chat with your morning teacher. Come down to the office, make an appointment with Mrs. Lewis. These are all things that you can do. It also helps getting these packages to your family. It helps them become a little bit more informed about how to select courses as well. And that's another great support that you can have. Okay. Sorry, too many things on the go here. Too many windows open. Okay, focus, Mr. Swanson. Okay, let's talk about math pathways. So in grade 10, you've taken 2 math classes. You've taken the math workplace and apprenticeship, and you've taken foundations and pre-calculus. There are a few of you that may have only taken one of these streams, math, work, or foundations and pre-calc. However, for the most part, you have both pathways. At this stage in the game, going into grade 11, you'll notice that you're going to follow one of these arrows. You're going to follow a direction down. You can't jump between these tracks. They're separate now. What's important to know is that which track should you take on your math pathway? This is something that you may need to think about. You may need to talk to a math teacher about. You may need to consult with Mrs. Lewis. But it's important that you are on the right pathway with math to graduate with the credits that you need. So for some of you, and I'll use an example, in this handy post-secondary requirement, before I do that, to graduate in Saskatchewan, all you need is a 20 level math in either of the 3 pathways. So if you took Foundations Math 20 and had no intentions on doing any more post-secondary training, you could graduate with your grade 11 math. That'd be totally fine. However, if we were to look in the post-secondary guide and I was just to randomly check something, let's say I looked at the University of, I think it's the University of Saskatchewan, and it asked, and I wanted to be a teacher at the U of S. So I went into education. I can see in the chart here that it tells me that I need to have, or pardon me, at the U of R, I would need to have a 30 level math. So I can't get into the U of R education program without a 30 level math. Although I could graduate high school with a math 20, I would need to have to take my foundations 30 in grade 12 to be able to get into the program. So this is handy for you to start to look at. I would make it a goal, if possible, for each of you to graduate with a 30 level math, so that if later in life you decide to go to university or a college or a training institute, that you do have the right courses to be able to be successful. Okay, so next year, as you decide which math pathway you will take, it's important that you plan in grade 11 to take the 20 and then eventually the 30 level. Some of you may wish to challenge all the way through to calculus. That's an option for some very specific math-oriented careers and pathways in university that you may need calculus, or you're passionate about being academically challenged, and that's certainly a strand for you. My best advice about which math pathway to take would be to take some time to read the course descriptions, to read the handouts, and to consult with Mrs. Lewis or with with any of your math teachers about which route is the best route for you. Okay, so that's the math pathways. We have a similar pathway approach when we get into grade 11 sciences. This is a really, really busy chart. but you've all taken Science 10, or you will this year, so you're done that piece. So now in grade 11, in the province, you must, similarly to math, you must finish with a science at the 20 or 30 level to graduate high school. So it's the same thing. You can take just one more science to graduate high school. However, if we go back to that post-secondary planning, it's always better to have a 30 level science. Challenge yourself. Also, if you wanted to be a chemistry teacher, obviously you're probably going to need a chemistry class in grade 12. If you're looking to go into a career that requires anything in the healthcare industry, you're likely to need the biology 30. And again, these things are all in those packages. So next year, it's important to focus on taking some of the sciences. And like math, there's only certain prerequisites that allow you to take a class. So let's look at the first one. If I want to take biology 30 eventually, I need to take health science or environmental science next year in grade 11 in order to get into it. If I wanted to take physics and I haven't taken physical science 20, I can't take physics because I have to have the prerequisite to the left. We don't offer earth science, so we can skip that one. But similarly with chemistry, you can't take health science and then go into chemistry. You must take physical science to get into chemistry. Similarly with computer science 30. If you wish to take that science, you need the 20. So you have to see how they connect the prerequisite classes to make sure that you're lined up to take the courses you'll need into grade 12. The good news is that in grade 11, you have a lot of freedom to take additional classes. You will in grade 12 as well. So like if you forget to take the one right credit you need in grade 11, it's not the end of the world. We will help figure out a schedule for you to be sure you get the class that you want. We've even had students take these classes online before, or they've gone over to Central to pick up a credit. So there's lots of different flexible ways to be sure that you'll get the credits that you need. Okay? What's important though is to remember that there's prerequisites and that you must be on the right path to take the correct classes in science and in math. And the best people to consult with about that, honestly, are your math and science teachers. All right, they really understand the sciences and maths, and they understand what's required as you go forward. All right, so that's the math and science pathways. The other thing to know about grade 11 is a unique year, is that in high school, the last 2 years, you have to take a social science class at grade 11 or 12 level. My advice to you is in grade 11 to take a social science in grade 11. Don't leave it till grade 12. Get it done now. So these are the classes that are considered for that. So there's psychology 20, psychology 30, history 20, law 30. Those are the 4 main social sciences that we offer. It's great to have that graduation credit knocked off in grade 11, because then in grade 12, it's going to allow you more flexibility to take unique different classes. And it'll also help you be more flexible in the event you change your career plan and want to take some new classes. So I would plan to pick a social science next year when we get around to course selections. Before I talk about electives, I want to talk about the course registration booklet. And I actually like to take, we're gonna pause for 2 minutes. And what I'd like you to do is the following. On the front cover, I want you to put your first and last name and your grade, grade 10. Please write it neatly because we do need to be able to read it. And then I'm going to have you go to the grade 11 area, and I'm going to have you circle the compulsory courses that you must take, compulsory. So that's for sure English A20. If you already know kind of what math you're going to take, you could circle a math and or science. If you're not sure, don't circle it, but circle the English A20, okay? So let's take 2-minute pause, get the name on the cover and the grade, and that one compulsory, and then we'll come back and we'll continue on in just a moment. Okay, so we'll give it about 30 more seconds as you're looking through those lists, and then I'll talk about some of the elective options that we have in coming up in grade 11 and beyond. Okay, so now that we've talked about those core electives, it's time to talk about one of the huge strengths about Peacock Collegiate, and that is our rich elective opportunities that you have. There's a lot of electives. That's the list you can see in front of you. I'm going to talk about a few of them. We also do have a video to profile some of the new courses that are available to you next year. And we'll give you a little sense more about all the neat things you can do. So, I mean, the process of graduating in Saskatchewan is to be prepared for the life beyond, but you have lots of room in your schedule to follow some passions and some interests. And so there's a ton of things that you can look at taking. So I'm going to skip through this list here. But in fine arts, of course, we have a band, choral. Choral happens as a scheduled class. I'm just going to pause for a moment. I had a message that maybe my sound had gone off. Would someone mind giving me a thumbs up just to confirm that you can hear you? Thank you, Miss Sass. Okay, perfect. If you're having any tech trouble that's not working, please call the office and Mrs. Arnott can pop down and give you a hand. So back to fine arts courses. We have choral offered in the schedule, like a scheduled class, and it's also offered as a noon choir. So noon choir happens twice a week at lunch hour and counts as a credit. So some students actually earn more than 10 credits a year because they take noon choir or vocal jazz or jazz band, which happens outside of the regular school day. Dance 20 is dance. It's individual and group performance. Drama 20 is very much an extension of what you've done in Drama 10. Jazz band is a refined group that focuses explicitly on jazz, working with Mr. Church. Again, it's an after-school group, as does vocal jazz. And vocal jazz is a performance-oriented. It's vocal, it's singing. It's not instrumental based necessarily. And then, of course, visual art. Visual art with Mr. Redstone. And you're very much aware of some of the focus area in grade 11 and 12 there. We have a giant pile of PAA courses. We have some new ones in here too. So AV engineering is sound and video engineering. It's more technical based. If you're interested in, creating high quality YouTube videos, planning, involving all of the elements of lighting, of sound, of editing, of all of that piece, if that's a passion for you, AV engineering is the class for you. Auto body comes in two levels, A and B20. So you could take auto body twice in grade 11. Each of these classes focuses on a little different part. It's working on vehicles that are damaged, learning the repair process, and so forth. CAD is computer aided design. That is exactly what it is. It's using technology on the computer to be able to design architectural elements and to be able to sketch it and create it, and oftentimes working into 3D in a program called Inventor. So if you're really technically inclined and enjoy that work, that's a great class for you. This is a new one, very cool class, Career Work Education and Life Transitions 20. So that's a double credit. That means it's two classes tied together. Career work is actually you going into the workplace and doing a job shadow, doing a job. So we've had students, have gone into accounting firms, they've gone into law offices, they've gone into car dealerships, all kinds of opportunities. So it actually gives you about 60 hours, 60 to 80 hours worth of time experiencing a job and career. Very cool class. The life transitions part is really about like the skills to being successful as a young adult, building a resume, understanding how to transition to life on your own post high school. It's a very, very practical class and might be something of interest to you. Clothing 20 is clothing and textiles and fashion at the grade 11 level. So again, continuing of what the sewing and the clothing techniques kind of continued on from there. Communication media is similar to AV engineering. It deals with video production. It also deals with the study, a little bit of the study of using media to communicate as a tool. So a little bit of journalism in there, but still based mostly on computers. Construction and carpentry, that's like woods, like in grade 10 to the next level. So we're working on more challenging projects. We're learning more tools and more finishing. And students often have a self-determined project that they'll use in construction. Electronics 20 focuses on, forgive me, I can't remember all the specifics. If you take an electronics in grade 9 or 10, you're familiar with the room, the electronics room. There's a lot of work with circuitry, so soldering, learning to construct and edit and use the different electrical elements to build things and understand how they work. And that's a very a popular class if you're interested in that technical part. I had a question from a student about, does career work and life transitions fulfill both of their PAA classes? Yes, it does. It gets both of those out of the way right away. That is a great question. Foods 20, hey, that's cooking. I'm not sure what they study, but I know it tastes good. I've been in there a few times. If you like, you know what foods is. Sorry. Graphic design 20, that is computer aided design. Oh my, what have I done here? Oh, I'm getting to be a bit of a comedy show here now, aren't I? Oh my, that just happened. Excuse me. Awesome. Yeah, that, you can't make this up. Oh, what have I done here? One more time. You know, I'm recording this as well. I'm gonna have to edit this now. Okay, there we go, back to reality. All right, graphic design, that is, think of it as a little bit like art, but on the computer. So students are working with Photoshop elements to be able to learn how to do some graphic editing. There's a variety of projects that happen in there. Again, it's technology based. Mechanics, similar to auto body, mechanics is working on vehicles and small engines. Usually in grade 11, I believe students start to bring in a vehicle, or they might have the option. So there's two classes you could take in grade 11. A and B, they focus on different parts of mechanics. Welding 20, that's an extension of welding 10, continuing to build your skills in that area. And a brand new class, really excited to offer next year, called Aviation Studies 20, be offered at the 30 level as well. So if you aviation studies will focus on the principles of flight, it'll focus on basic piloting. There's some work on meteorology, but the focus is really learning to understand how things fly and to learn to some piloting skills. So there's some flight simulator work, there's some RC plane work, and there's some construction of gliders. And then it's actually what it's working towards is working towards the construction of an actual flying biplane that we are going to build at Peacock over the next 2.5 years. So students that are in aviation studies 20 and 30 over the next 2.5 years will be a part of the construction of a flying Newport 17 World War I fighter. And that's a pretty cool project, something very unique. We're the only place, I think, probably in North America doing something like that. I'm really excited about that. So very cool class. Mr. Schaefer will teach that, and he can give you a little bit more detail about that. But we have a pile of other electives that we have. We have Phys Ed 20, so Physical Education 20. Unlike Wellness 10, Phys Ed 20 happens a little bit outside of the school day. So sometimes Phys Ed 20 will do things like swimming, so they'll be in the pool. They may play tennis at the tennis courts. They may do some fitness training or a spin class. They may take advantage of some of the different amenities that we have in the community, because they're not always based in the gym. So that's important to note. Sometimes it happens in the mornings or it happens at lunchtime. It doesn't happen always in a scheduled period. However, on-campus Phys Ed 20 is like a typical gym class. It happens during the scheduled day, during the hour or block where you would take the class in the gym. So that's on campus. For students who don't want to have to worry about getting up early for class or traveling, that's the class for you. Another new elective for you in grade 11 is outdoor pursuits, which is outdoor education. Normally they will do things like cycling, orienteering, skiing, hiking. Those sort of things are the focus of the class. Typically there's some excursions in that class. They've gone canoeing before, they've gone mountain biking, and some different opportunities like that, camping, those sort of things. So pretty neat class. Mental Health Studies 20 is a new class this year, and it focuses on mental well-being. It focuses on understanding mental health. It does some research into, you know, some of the things, struggles that are associated with mental health and understanding that, and also some wellness strategies. Students develop their own personal plans for maintaining wellness and balance and health. So a very interesting class. We actually had 2 sections of that class this year. Very popular, very unique class. Before I go any deeper, I do want to explain that we have course descriptions written up that you can read on a section of our website that I'll share with you. So I know I'm going through a lot of this quite quickly. There is a space for you to be able to go and check in on that, which I'll share with you here when we get to the end of the list. Musical Theater 20 is essentially students that are wishing to be part of the musical. It's a curricular experience now, so students that want to be involved with the musical are encouraged to be in the Musical Theater 20, whether they're acting or helping with sets or doing sound. That's the focus of that, performance and stagecraft. Personal Sports, PST, Personal Sports Training 20 is specifically designed, it's like for personalized development of a sport you want to get better at is the focus of it. And we're going to share a little video later about that for you. Leadership 20 is developing leadership, modeling leadership, planning for leadership. It's a new course we're going to offer next year in Leadership 20. Creative Writing 20 is exactly what it sounds like. It's learning how to write. And that class is a grade 11 elective. Because you only take 1 English in grade 11, there's a couple of these other English-oriented electives that are available to you. Financial literacy, you'll see a video later about what it's about. Forensic science is a unique science class that's, it's called forensic science, but it's not considered a science. It's actually an other elective. So it doesn't count towards the science pathways that we talked about earlier. That's why it's not on this list. But it is an interesting elective. Deals with forensics, understanding what goes into forensic research and understanding. It's quite a fascinating class, and it's a great option for you. As well, of course, would be Guitar 20. Lots of unique opportunities for you to be able to take in that case. Okay, wow, that's a lot of electives, I know. We will be taking a moment when we finish this presentation, staff, I'm going to show you where I'd like you to share a video with the students, it's about 8 minutes long, and it overviews all those new electives and does a lot better job than I'm ever going to be able to do. Big warning, grade 11, it's kind of a big year because your marks really begin to matter. So some universities, some post-secondary, they're going to conditionally accept you next year. You'll apply based on your grade 11 transcript. So you will apply for it and they'll want to see your marks in grade 11. Also, there are scholarships that are applied to your grade 11 marks. Some of you right now, and although you're in grade 10, may be taking, say, Health Science 20 this year yet, because or maybe you took it in Math 20 level. Some of you did that. So that's a grade 11 mark. So those marks, even though you're in grade 10, they are important. So when scholarships look at your grade 11 math mark this year, or if you took a course in grade 11, they begin to matter. So it's really important that you kind of keep in tune of understanding the importance of, basically doing your very best at all times, all right? But especially grade 11 is where it really begins to matter. although I gave you a credit tracking sheet, and I think this is something I'd recommend doing with your families, is going through and checking off the grade 10 classes that you've taken, and then checking what you plan to take in grade 11. There is a way on the My School Sask system to actually track your graduation summary. I cannot show it to you on the screen in any way that will allow you to read it easily, but there is a tab there that you can click on and it'll show you what percentage towards graduation you are already progressed towards. I know some of you have found it, but it was something I would suggest taking a little closer look at. It is very useful. Again, this is the high school credit tracking form that you have available to you. It's a great tool as an exercise. I would do this with your family, checking off the classes you're taking in grade 10 and plan to in grade 11. Now, it's really important next year that as you plan that you think about, I'm not sure what exactly I need. Okay, I want to be a nurse. What classes do I need to take? Well, this would be the time in the next week to begin having a conversation with Mrs. Lewis about that. Talk to your counselor or refer to this pile of information I gave you. There's a lot of hints and tips in there, and it'll just help you make sure that you're selecting the right courses on your form. So the process for the form is really easy. You basically are going to end up circling all the classes that you'll want to try and get into next year. And this form is due back to your morning teacher by Thursday morning, by the end of Thursday morning. And then if there are any concerns or any issues on there, if you've maybe forgotten a class to pick or you want to consult with someone about it, you can make an appointment with Mrs. Lewis and we're happy to walk through this stuff. Like I said, the good news in grade 11 is you have lots of room in your schedule to take a good variety of classes and options. And so take that as an advantage. I know you're going to want to get ahead and, thinking to life after high school and take all those specific classes, but take some time to have some fun too. If you love art, take art. If you love working on cars, take those cars. If you're interested in being a part of the aviation program, then take those classes. You're really lucky. Peacock is a really unique school because we have such a broad offering of electives. So certainly want to encourage you all to take advantage of that. Again, that's just a reference to that post-secondary prerequisite sheet. So before I kind of start to wrap things up, I want to share with you, I'm just going to share my screen again. I want to show you and your teachers where I want you to go to see, excuse me a second, to see some important information about our extra course offerings. Okay, hopefully you are seeing the school website, correct? I've got the right one. Somebody give me it. Thank you very much. Thank you for the confirmation. All right, okay. So what we have here is our website. So we've got a resource ready for you, already? So this is under students. There is a section called course registration. In here, we have an overview of what to do. 1, print out the course reg form. That is the form that you already have in your hand. So if you lose one, you can get a print cup in the office or you can download it, but it's easier to just grab and don't lose the one that you had. Number 2, we have a PDF document that goes through all of the courses. So maybe you were wanting to know more about creative writing because I did a terrible job explaining it. And it says right in here, it's exactly what it is designed to do for you. And it'll give you a nice overview. So all of those unique credit options that we have are all listed in here, so you can refer to there. The third thing is we want to return that book completed with the circled classes with our name on it by Thursday to your morning teacher. Also, this presentation will be stored up here on this link on our YouTube channel once I get around to it at lunchtime. And there, right here, this video link is a link to our new elective options for next year. So when we do wrap this up, staff, I would ask that you take the 8 minutes and I would go to this part of the website and play this video so that students can see and learn a little bit more of some of the new and unique electives that you may not know about. It's well worth your time to have a little closer look at all that information. Okay, so again, that's under new electives, students, course registration, new elective options for next year. Okay. That pretty much brings us to the end of the grade 11 course year planning presentation for grade 10. If you did have some specific questions that you perhaps wanted to ask or I wasn't able to cover, please feel free to type something in the chat window here in the next moment or so before we finish up. And I'm happy to go through as much as I can. You've got your morning teachers to assist you. You have afternoon teachers. You have certainly option to make an appointment with Mrs. Lewis, or you can stop and talk to Mrs. Arnott and I as well. Although you have to plan in grade 11 and 12 to take certain classes to graduate, obviously, and plan for post-secondary, also take advantage of this classes and the time you have to have some fun, to follow some passions. Like I said, you're really lucky you have such a wide variety of options at Peacock, and certainly take advantage of those. If you have specific questions about the math and science pathways and those sort of things, be sure to talk with your science or your math teacher, or again, any of us in the office are happy to help you. And my last thing is, remember this big package stuff? Let's be sure that that goes home today and is put on the kitchen table. Super important. This is a great resource for your families to help them understand more about high school graduation and credits as well. Okay. So I haven't seen any questions pop up in the chat window. So I'm going to assume we're in good shape that way. So staff, I just asked that you would take the next 8 minutes if you could go off to the site and show the electives video. I think students will enjoy seeing some of the cool stuff that's going on this year and beyond. And I thank you all for your time and your attention, and good luck with your course selections. And we'll leave it there, folks. Thank you. Have a great day.